We're back on Country Pocket with Rebecca Porter. The new album is Roll with the Punches, and you just heard Roll with the Punches. You take it all in, you swallow the tears on top of that, um, and you wind up having to let pieces of yourself die. Um, what is, in your own words, what is so poisonous about not fighting back and not letting it out?
The chance or the occurrence that it consumes who you are and you aren't able to get out of that situation. Um, just holding on to the traumas and the cycles of abuse and swallowing everything that's been handed your way, it inevitably will just consume who you are. And, as I mentioned earlier, that self-talk, I think it's probably impossible for your self-talk to be anything but negative and hateful and essentially just drowns who you are or any sense of hope that you might have.
Yeah. Yeah. So in order to not wind up dying, you have to change your response to these challenges. You have to keep getting up. Um, it seems like you're really stable on your feet now. It seems like a lot of a lot of the self-growth is there. Let me ask a question because it's one I have to deal with after going through a remarkably similar background to yours. Are you able to trust people?
I am. I am able to trust people. It takes a while for me to fully open myself up to people. I expect a lot out of myself, and I expect a lot out of people who I surround myself with who have close proximity to me and especially my family, and people that I rely on. So I do remain guarded, but I'm not closed off. Um, I have almost almost like little road signs to myself. Like you've been here before, you've heard these words from someone before. Where did those things lead you in the past? And just making a little tick mark to myself and being aware of that. Um, I would say I do a much better job of being aware of myself and what I am able to take on, what I'm not able to take on, what I will allow as far as what people believe and what they support, and uh, what side of history, as I think Maren Morris once said, what side of history they're on. Um, and it even comes down to people that I play shows with, people who play in my band. Um, Safety is something that is a concern for me. It's a concern for people who I play with, friends of mine. And I'm not willing to chance my own safety or, people who I love dearly and are my friends or play in my band or my family safety to because I ignored those signs that were familiar. And I don't, that's not to say that I don't ever get it wrong, but um, I just try to be very mindful for that protection.
Yeah, I'm extremely open about just about everything, almost right off the bat. Um, and I'm also very, very capable of like giving a new person a certain amount of trust. Um, but the options from there, I think I found it's pretty much either I see warning signs and shut it off quickly, or uh or I continue giving them a small amount of trust. You know,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah,
there's not really a grow option. It's just, one of the two.
yeah.
And, um, yeah, I think I'm not sure if that's healthy, but I do stay sane. And it's very rare that I find someone who maybe is just someone who I don't click with, but I don't see anything wrong with them, and it takes me a while to decide. For the most part, it's pretty instantaneous.
Hmm.
I can tell right away.
Yeah.
You meet enough people and you can tell right away. You've dealt with enough people and you can tell right away. Let me end this last real question here.
Okay.
Really gonna end on a banger. Uh,
Okay.
God blessed those men. Without a doubt, the most powerful sentence you speak on this album. Um, Men who have done unthinkable things. We'll throw in women, why not? Uh, Non-binary folk too. Like I'm not excluding anyone here.
Yeah.
People have done unthinkable things, and you can see plain and clear that they are just swimming in the blessings.
Yeah.
It's usually men, but how do you wrap your head around that?
Um, yeah. Thank you for catching that because I feel like I feel like that's a line that kind of gets overlooked on the record. And I honestly thought that I was going to get grilled about that line a lot. But yeah, for me personally, it goes back to instead of focusing on others and what others are doing and reacting to others, I turn the focus, and instead of rolling with the punches of just what I'm given, I turn the focus onto myself and what can I do to be better? What can I do to get myself out of this situation? What can I do to change my narrative as to I don't just have to accept what they're willing to give me. And if I'm focusing on all of their blessings and all of the good things happening for them, I might be missing things that could be happening for me or things that I could be working on for myself, and ways to get out of this situation myself. And so, um, and I learned that in therapy. Part of that I learned in therapy was I spent so much of my life and my time wanting an apology or wanting acknowledgement from those men in my life, um, and wanting to resolve and thinking that having those things would resolve all of this internal stuff that I had going on. And I learned that with many of them, that apology or that acknowledgement or reconciliation, that external thing was not going to happen. And so, in order for me to move on, what did I need to do for myself so I could acknowledge that I was worthy and that I was worthy of good things and existing and um, not having to depend on their acknowledgement in order to move on and in order to have a full life.
Yeah, with people like that, you don't want their apology. You don't want their acknowledgement because then they remember you exist. And then you remember they exist and remember exactly how frustrating they are. And you're better off screaming into the void and going out, turning over a new rock and seeing if there's a decent person underneath. Uh,
Yeah.
I close off my interviews with a simple little task. I sort through the conversation in my head, come up with a prompt, and you spoke glowingly earlier about Allison Russell. She's someone who's also gone through hell. Um, Please choose an Allison Russell song to conclude this interview on.
Night Flyer.
Night Flyer. All right. Rebecca Porter, thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.